Hello guys and welcome to World of Tanks, the tank reviews number 3. We are taking a look at the Indien Panzer as requested. Well, let's kick off right away with the hit points. If you compare it to, for example, the Pershing or the Type, it has the same as Type but a little bit less than the Pershing. And I think the Centurion and the 2 have even more, but it's about average or a little bit less HP, which is a little bit unusual for German tanks. But that's what this new line is about. A little bit un-German characteristics on the tanks and horsepower to weight ratio, in the other hand, is 15.8, which is not that bad, but for example Pershing has a little bit more and Type has less, so again quite average actually. Speed limit is 50, which you can get to eventually, but not that quickly actually. Again, as you can see, it's quite average. Traverse speed again is 38, but the Type has 46 and Pershing has 38, but it is still more than, for example, its main rival, I would suppose, the Panther 2. Panther 2 only has 29, and while we are looking at the Panther 2, we can see that the tire speed is only 28 compared to the Pershing, which has 36. So it's a lot more agile than the Panther 2. And view range is again average. Pershing has more, but then again it's American and Americans always have good view range. Chinese then don't have always that good, but actually Type has not that bad. It has the same as the Indien Panzer and as I said, average again, and signal range, who cares really. And okay, let's move on to the armor actually next. So the armor of the Indien Panzer is actually quite interesting, because as you can see from the per stats, it's 90 on the front, 90 on the side, and 45 in the back, both on the turret and the hull. But if you look at the front of the hull, you can see it's very sloped. And if you actually compare that sloping to the really famous sloping on Type, you will find it's more sloped on the upper plate than the Type itself. But the Type does have 10 millimeters more armor, so it's I would suppose it's about the same. But then again, it has the lower plate, which is, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see it is sloped quite well also, but it is weaker than the upper plate. And as you can see, it's quite high up, although it's not that big of a target, but still it's high up, so it's harder to cover by smaller rubble or something. But if the enemies happen to hit you on the upper plate, they will bounce a lot, unless they happen to hit this viewport here, driver's view slit actually. But the thing is that you can angle this tank really well compared to, for example, the Type, which only has, well, 80 side armor, but still 90 is always better. You can angle it like this quite well, and then the armor becomes a lot better. Although I find that this spot here gets penetrated a lot, but still it's a small target to hit, and it's more about the luck of the enemy than his aiming skills to hit that spot. And the thing is that the tracks in this soak damage really well. They're like some Soviet tracks that just doesn't seem to break at all and always just eat yourself. And I had a lot of shots that been shot here and done no damage. That's partly because As you can see, the ground clearance on this thing is really good. The hull only goes up there, which means when you're shooting from here, if you shoot anywhere there, it's just gonna go beneath the tank and do no damage. The turret armor, it's interesting also because, as you can see, the gun mantle is really thick, and you would think that it's impenetrable. But the thing is, why the gun mantle is always good is that there's the turret armor and the gun mantle, so that's 2 layers of armor. That's usually why the gun mantles are hard to penetrate. But in the Indien Panzer, the turret armor behind the gun mantle only covers this part. Everything here in the middle is only covered by the gun mantle, making it easier to penetrate because there's only 1 layer of armor. So it's not as good as you might suppose. Don't count on that gun mantle to save you when you're hull down. Also, the cupola is quite big, but if you hit the viewports on top of that, unless you hit them from this angle, you won't do any damage. You will just damage the viewport, so you really need to hit the cupola itself. The side, on the other hand, sloped and 90 degrees, will bounce a lot, although this machine gun point is of course a weak spot. And the side, it is a little bit sloped, but it's quite easy to penetrate actually. Sometimes you might get lucky and the enemy hits the wrong spot and bounces, but don't count on it. Overall, the armor is, you can count on it to bounce sometimes. It's quite good for tier 8 medium tank. And, well, now let's go on my favorite part of this tank, the gun. And here are the different guns of the different nations. Indien Panzer, Panzer II, Centurion 1, Pershing, T-44 and T-34-1. Let's take a look at the rate of fire first. The Indien Panzer has rate of fire of 8. Panzer II, I don't actually remember, it's something between these numbers, about 7, worse than the Indien Panzer in any case. 7.5 for the Centurion, 7.32 for the Pershing, 7.59 for the T-44 and 6.45 for the T-34-1, which means the best rate of fire is in the Indien Panzer, and the rate of fire is always nice to have. And when you look at the rest of the stats, especially the damage and the penetration, you will see that it doesn't lose in those departments either. As you can see from the penetration, it has the second best penetration of any tier 8 medium. Only the Centurion, it's awesome, 226 penetration, beats the 212 penetration of the Indien Panzer. The 8.8 on the Panther II is still very good at 203, but the rest are about 180 and 175, which is considerably worse than the others. And when you look at the damage, actually, it's right in the middle of everything. Almost everything has, well, Pershing, Indien Panzer and the Panther II have the 240, T-44 and the Centurion have 230 and the T-34-1 has 250, but about the same for everything. But with this damage and the rate of fire, it means that the best DPM is with the Indien Panzer actually. DPM is damage per minute, by the way, for those who don't know. And with the penetration of 212, you can be sure that you penetrate most of your shots actually. And the accuracy is not bad either. It's actually this number here, 0.34. The other one is for the Leopard prototype. It's the same as in the Panther II and slightly worse than the one on the Centurion 1, but better than the ones on the Pershing, 37, better than the T-44, 35, and a lot better than the T-34-1, which is only 42, a lot worse than anything else in its tier. Aiming time, in the other hand, is a little bit on the higher side, 2.9, same as the Panther 2, a lot worse than the 2.3 on the Centurion 1. Even the Pershing and the T-44 have better than that, 2.3, and the T-34-1 has the same. But when you mount enhanced gunlay drive and vertical stabilizer in this thing, the aiming time is not bad at all. I certainly haven't had any problems with it. And it seems that the gun aiming dispersion when you move or turn your turret is not as high as in some of the other tanks. So really, for the aiming time, you have to play the tank before you can say anything about it. And I can say for the Indien Panzer, it's not bad at all. Overall, I think this is... I would like to say it's the best gun, but honestly, I still think the Gun-Avon's 20-pounder gun is better. Just because of the awesome accuracy and the really fast aiming time and the penetration, of course. But the 9cm in the Indien Panzer definitely takes the second place, followed by of course the 88 on the Panther 2, and then come the rest really. Overall, the gun is quite awesome on the Indien Panzer, and yeah, crew and equipment next, I think. So the equipment and the crew skills, again, this is just what I prefer on this tank. You might want to mount something else if your playstyle is different, but I went with the tank gun armor. Always mount that if you can. Enhanced gunlay drive and vertical stabilizer, making it aim a lot faster. Of course, you could take something like improved ventilation. I haven't really had any trouble with the ammo rack, so you don't need the WoT ammo rack really. And nothing else really is good for this tank. Crew skills. I went with all repairs, as I always do for the first kill. I would of course swap the commander for 6 Sense. Gunner, I will take for the second skill, I will take snapshot for the driver, smooth ride, and for the loader, yeah, just pick anything. Camouflage most likely. Doesn't help a lot, but you never know. Yeah, not much to say about these really. Playstyle next, I guess. Well, the playstyle for the Indien Panzer, it's a little bit hard to describe because it is a really versatile tank. With this really accurate and good penetration gun, you could snipe a lot, but that would be a little bit waste of the tank really. You can get a little bit closer in because it's not that agile, but it's not that slow either, so you can be in close quarters, and the armor is certainly good enough to bounce any snapshots that the enemy tries to take quickly and doesn't aim for the lower plate. And you can side scrape with it because of the 90mm side armor. You can do that actually really well because of the tracks also, which soak a lot of the damage. You can play it a little bit hull down because it has really good gun dispersion, and I mean about the same gun dispersion as the Pershing. Of course the Pershing has better turret a little bit, but still Indien Panzer is better gun. So you can play this hull down, but don't count on taking too many shots because that won't work. Peek out and take a pot shot at enemy and fall back. The gun dispersion will allow you to do that. So yeah, snipe, roll, peekaboo, or not peekaboo, side scrape, play it hull down. You can almost do anything you can do with the medium tanks with this tank, other than try to circle somebody. That won't work, I can promise you that. Unless it's a TD, of course, then it can work, but yeah, That's much to say about that. If you want to see a gameplay of this tank, just click the annotation on the screen somewhere, and it will take you to a gameplay video of this tank. And if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and comment and like the video. And I hope to see you guys next time again.